Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something pretty cool to take a look at today, as we have a brand new Zuru Dinosaurs release. As you can see, we've got a Robo Alive figure, which, if you know the Robo Alive line, it hasn't always been the best line of dinosaurs. They're, figures that are kind of like animated, sort of light and sound type figures normally, though I will say they do make some pretty cool figures from time to time. I'm more of a fan normally of the Dino Strike line and stuff like that, but we now have a Dino Action line, and the Dino Action line sports, much larger sized figures than you get in the smaller Dino Strike line. There are 3 different dinosaurs, I believe, that are a part of this line, and you can see straight away we've got ourselves a really cool looking raptor here. I would imagine it's meant to be a Velociraptor, almost kind of a JP3 type Velociraptor, as we have some like feather-like quills up there on the back of the neck, which is definitely fun. And immediately, as soon as I had seen these at Walmart, they really drew me in and immediately sparked my interest, so I grabbed all 3 of the brand new figures released with this line when it comes to the dinosaurs. As far as the packaging goes, you can see we've got a really cool image of the dinosaur right there. And then, if we turn it around to the back, we've got some images here on the back that kind of show us a little bit about the figure, kind of give us an idea as far as what it is capable of. And then also some images down here showing off the other figures that are in this line, as well as far as the Robo Alive line. That's actually what a lot of these are. Not all part of the Dino Action, but you can see that the Dino Action has a Tyrannosaurus Rex as well as a pterodactyl as well. And then you've also got like Dino Wars and stuff like that. Figures we have actually taken a look at previously on the channel, as well as again some different animals, as you have pythons and stuff like that included in the line, also some spiders and a cockroach apparently. But this is definitely a pretty fun looking Velociraptor. I'm really quite excited about the potential for this line, so let's go ahead, pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our Raptor figure, and it looks pretty cool, honestly. I do like the sculpt. The sculpt actually has some pretty nice detail throughout as well. Of course, it's not exactly what we would consider an accurate Velociraptor, but they never are as far as the Robo Alive or even the Zuru in general type figures. You're never really going to find accuracy in that line, but what you usually get are really cool kind of stylized dinosaur figures, and that is definitely what we have here with this Raptor. I actually really quite like the coloration of it as well, with that really nice greenish tone. And we have nail paint on the figure as well, which is a huge plus. So I'm very intrigued to take a closer look at this, so let's jump to that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Raptor, you can see that detail-wise it looks okay, maybe a little muted in certain spots, like in the palate. You don't really see too much as far as skin texture, or even there around the eye. But I feel like as you lead back into the body, the detail definitely gets much nicer, much more highly detailed. But the head itself, again, has a little bit of a muted look as far as the detail. Like, you don't really see too much going on here on the lower jaw either. But we have some nice coloration, again, with a green tone here, as well as a lighter tone for the lower jaw. And then you also have this black stripe that kind of runs up here. It circles around the eye and stripes out, almost a little Velociraptor bluish as far as the design goes, but rather than a blue stripe and a gray body, we have a green body and a black stripe. But you can see that the black stripe even has a little bit of a white outline around it. We have kind of like that glass eye type look for the figure, which normally when it comes to the Zuru figures is alright. Like, they usually do a pretty good job on it, but this one I'm actually having kind of a hard time on the right side picking up on the eye. You can kind of see it there, but it's actually, the light is just shining it away. You can't really see it too well, but it does look pretty cool. There's definitely some really, really nice detail as far as the paintwork and everything there on the inside of the eye, which looks really good. You do have an articulated jaw, which is pretty nice. That's also part of the action feature, but as you open this, you can get a good look at the inside of the mouth. Not really too much going on as far as detail in there, but there is some. You can also see the tongue is sticking up here on the inside of the mouth, and the tongue itself actually also articulates, which is pretty fun. You've got some fairly nicely sculpted teeth and nicely painted. We do have paint for the top. Doesn't really look like we have any specific paint for the lower jaws. It's kind of the same color as the lower jaw, but it almost does sort of seem like there is actually a slight difference in color of the teeth there for the lower jaw, which is a little bit of, plus not great as far as differentiating the tones of color, but the lower jaw is such a lightish tone that even if it were the same color as the lower jaw, it really wouldn't have mattered much. As you lead up here to the back of the head, again, you can see those really cool kind of feather-like quills, almost like a JP3 type Velociraptor as far as that goes. They kind of have like a red-orange type of a look to them, maybe leaning a little closer to more of like an orangish tone. But they actually have some pretty nice detail within them, you can see. Not great, but not terrible either. Leading down the neck, you have just kind of like a lot of skin creases and stuff. You see that stripe continue to run down the course of the neck. You do have a lighter tone here for the underside, but we have lots of screw holes along the underside. However, I do appreciate the fact that they put them on the underside because they're at least a little bit more well hidden than if Hasbro had made this figure where they would have just plastered them all over the side in the most visible area possible. As you lead back here into the body, you can see that black stripe kind of starts to squiggle, and we have that white outline reappearing down here in the body as we lead back to the hip, but then it disappears after the hip, and then we don't have any more of that coloration for the rest of the body. You've got some fairly nice looking muscle definition as you lead down into the arms, as well as some nice looking skin texture. You can see both hands have the fingers kind of like all over the place, maybe trying to give it that sort of like attacking type of a look. Very nicely painted nails with a black, which is always a huge plus when you have painted nails. And then as you lead back up here, you can again see how much nicer the actual texturing to the skin and the detailing of the figure looks in the main body of our raptor. Like, it looks way nicer as you lead out here into the body. You can kind of see the spinal column there. And then as you lead down into the leg, you can definitely pick up on some beautiful muscle definition, as well as, again, really nice detail that I would say looks as nice as you see on the main body there. You've got the kneecap. You can also see the elbow back there, which I didn't point out. Fairly small but nice looking calf muscle, and again some fairly okay looking detail leading down into the foot, scoots down the toes, and you also have, of course, our big sickle claw. Again, all of the nails are painted really nicely. We do have dew claws, but unfortunately they did not get the paint treatment, which is definitely a downside. And oddly enough, the toe with the sickle claw actually has like a total opening there, like it's completely opened up on the inside, which is really strange. Yeah, they both have that. That seems like the weirdest idea. I don't know why they would have gone ahead and done that. But we do have that light tone continuing here along the underside of the figure. However, it has a very abrupt transition as we move out into the tail. As we can see, the tail is a separate piece entirely, which is just strictly that greenish tone. We have a pretty nice looking curve to the tail. The tail's not super long, not quite as long as it probably should be, but it has some okay looking detail. Again, actually pretty nice looking detail. Again, also as nice as what we see on the body. I think the only area of the body itself, or of the figure itself, that really has kind of muted detail would be in the face, which is probably the one place you wouldn't want it to have muted detail, but it really doesn't look bad even with some slightly muted detail over there. But again, it looks really cool. As you lead down, you can see pretty much the same look for the figure on both sides. Both of the legs are kind of like pulled forward, so they're both kind of obscuring the stomach a little bit, but you can see the arm again looks pretty nice over here. Kind of wild looking finger positioning for the figure. And again, the very nice looking leg sculpt with the nice muscle definition. Really nicely painted nails again throughout. As we lead back out, you can again see the curve in the tail. There's like, again, the screw holes leading all the way out here onto the tail. Like, there are tons of screw holes on this figure on the underside. Like, when I say tons, that's not an understatement. Boy, there are a lot of different screw holes on the underside. But like I said, at least they're not up here in the most visible area, which is definitely a plus for the figure. So let's go ahead and check out the articulation and action features. Now again, as far as articulation goes, we did already see we have the articulated jaw. You've also got articulation in the tongue. You can also see the articulation in the arms, which also moves the mouth. I think that might be part of the action feature. Shockingly, though, it doesn't seem like we have any articulation in the legs, and that's just like really weird. You would definitely expect to have some form of articulation in the legs, but both are really stiff. I can't get either leg to move. And then we also have articulation in the tail, but you can kind of see it wiggling, and that's because when you push it down, all of the articulated areas kind of join together to create that really cool visual. The arms kind of strike, the tongue sticks out, the jaw opens, the neck moves down, and of course the tail moves down, and we get that really cool raptor noise. But one thing I did notice when I had seen this in the store and I kind of gave it a whirl and tried it out is that if I let the tail go, the noise cuts off instantly. So it's not like a Mattel figure where if you push the button, it'll keep roaring even if you leave it go. If we try that out, see, it stops instantly. So if you want the noise to continue, you have to continue holding down the tail or the noise will stop dead, which I feel like is kind of strange, but I mean, it is what it is. As far as a size for our Raptor goes, for a length, you are looking at about 10¼ inches or around 26 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point is probably the tail, about 5 inches or 12½ centimeters. And then, yeah, about just a little over 4½ inches or closing in on 12 centimeters for the top of the head. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our really cool Zuru Toys Dino Action Raptor, and you can definitely see again that it does sport a pretty good size, especially for being a Raptor figure, but all of the figures in this line seem to be of a similar size, so they don't like size up correctly to each other or anything like that. Like you'll see when I get to the review of the Pterosaur and the T-Rex, they're all pretty much the same size, but you can absolutely see, I would think, at this point, that it does have a pretty good size. And then we have our Dino Action Velociraptor next to our Jurassic World Velociraptor. So if you have any of the Mattel Raptors, this should again show off the fact that this is a really quite sizable figure, like much larger than the Mattel Raptor. But you can really see that proportion-wise, the figure is quite off. Like the head's pretty darn big, the tail's short, like everything just looks a little awkward as far as the size of the body parts of the figure, but it still has a pretty darn cool size, if you ask me. And then as far as the Zuru Toys Dino Strike figures, here is one of the Velociraptors from that line next to our Dino Action Velociraptor. And you can see, if you happen to collect the Dino Strike line, you can really see again that there is a massive size difference between these new figures and the older Dino Strike line. So this brand new Dino Action Raptor from Zuru Toys is a pretty fun figure. Again, it's not great, it's not near as nice sculpt-wise or detail-wise as the Mattel line, but it's not too far off. Like, the detail is really nice on the body and the tail, the arms, the legs, everything looks great. A little muted in the face, but outside of that, I think the detail looks really good on the figure as a whole, but obviously, it is very exaggerated as far as the appearance goes. It doesn't really look like what a Raptor would look like in real life, but considering these are just really cool kind of neat-looking toys for kids, I don't really expect super accurate dinosaurs. I really don't expect super accurate dinosaurs from Zuru Toys, since they release dinosaurs that usually have like weapons and stuff and headgear and everything on them, like we just saw on the Dino Strike Raptor. So it is a pretty nice and pleasant surprise, I would say, to see kind of more, I don't know if I should say natural type dinosaurs, but we don't see any kind of like Dino Wars like armor or anything on it. Like, it's just a straight up dinosaur, obviously not an accurate one, but a pretty cool version of a Raptor. And again, almost having that sort of JP3 type look with those quill like feathers on the back of the neck, which is pretty fun. And I do really quite like the sculpt of it overall. Even if it is a little muted in the face, it does have a pretty nice sculpt, also a pretty nice appearance. I kind of like the crouching appearance to it, as well as it looks like it's about to attack. I do also like the coloration. The coloration is pretty nicely done. We have painted nails, which is always a huge plus. The glass eye type effect is fun, but it's not that great. It almost reminds me of the Hammond Collection T-Rex, where you can't see it all that well, not as nicely as you would expect to, but it does still kind of look cool at the same time. The articulation of the figure, though, is a little bit of a downside because it all has to do with the action feature. There's no real like articulation to the figure that you can just play with and make it walk or anything like that. Like specifically, the legs don't really move at all, and everything else, again, as far as the articulation with the neck, the jaw, the tongue, the arms, the tail, that all collaborates into the action features, so it's not like you can play with those joints individually, which is a little bit of a downside, but still pretty cool overall. And I really am, again, quite excited to see what Zuru does with this line in the future. I'm definitely going to hope that they continue to make figures like this moving forward, maybe like they do with the Dino Strike line, where every so often they'll just drop a few new species on us. I would definitely like to see them, again, release a few more figures in this line moving forward, because I feel like they really do have some potential, and with quite a bit of an upsize overall, it's definitely, again, a pretty fun line that is now freshly hitting Walmart stores everywhere. So if you would like to grab this, like I said, head to your local Walmart, because that's where I found mine, and you'll also, again, probably find the T-Rex as well as the Pterodactyl, and I will have reviews of those guys up here on the channel very soon. So make sure you grab these if you are interested, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.